ICE Theatres, the market's most immersive and high-end premium format. Because the light shall be treated like sound coming from everywhere. Discover the ICE Theatres experience and embark on an immersive odyssey beyond reality. ICE Theatres. Meet us at CinemaCon booth 2617A.
You know, we all played Unhinged, probably one of the first movies that came out from Solstice. So we went to work of like, okay, how do we move the needle? And it wasn't necessarily at the beginning because they were doing their own marketing, but it was, I think we kept it for like 5 weeks. And in the 5th week, we were like, let's do an event. It's called a car smash event. And so it's like major studio, like AMC can't do this because of the liability, but we're like the scrappy upstarts.
I'd
we're
like to do that.
Let's bring in a car and have people take swings at it for $1. So we
with margaritas or no?
So I need to move to Maryland is what you're telling me.
If you had anything to drink, you could not swing. So we dropped a car, brought an old car in the middle of the parking lot, and what's cool about it, I think what we did was we moved the needle. We could prove that we had a 2% lift in Unhinged compared to what we would have done in its 5th week and its last week, so Solstice was happy about that. But we also gave all that money away to a local nonprofit, so it was a way for us to drive ticket sales at the same time, sort of be part of the fabric of the community.
This is the Box Office Podcast in our special daily CinemaCon edition brought to you by ICE Theatres. Today is Thursday, April 28th, the final day, thank God, the final day of CinemaCon 2022. I know we all look forward to this event, but we're pretty tired really as it rounds in to the final hours here. But once again, we're ready to bring you everything you missed on yesterday's event, all of the highlights, all of the recaps from the studio presentations. My colleagues Shawn Robbins and Rebecca Pahle are here with me to go over that. And in today's feature segment, we've got a recap of that Tuesday morning 7:45 a.m. session. Maybe you slept through it. Maybe you partied a little bit too hard on Monday night. Don't worry, we've got those highlights here for you. That is the marketing roundtable that was moderated by CNBC's Sarah Whitten, featuring panelists that include Alicia Cook, the director of advertising at AMC Theatres, Rich Daughtridge, the president and CEO of Warehouse Cinemas, Ben Deighton, the general manager, marketing, Australia and New Zealand for Reading Cinemas, and Annelise Holyoak, the senior national director of marketing and loyalty for Cinépolis USA. Those highlights are coming at the end of the episode in our feature segment. And of course, leading up to it, we are going to go through today's schedule, the final day here, and then that's going to be followed by our news segment where we are going to be going into our reactions from everything that happened yesterday here at Caesars Palace in Las Vegas. So let's look at today's schedule, guys. 7:45 a.m., another early start time. I don't know how we're making it to all of these things, but we are. And we are starting with parallel sessions here. One from the National Association of Concessionaires and one from the ICTA, the Technology Association. Both of those occurring at the Palace Ballrooms this morning. Over later on in the morning, we've got a 9:15 start time with Paramount's studio presentation and a really highly anticipated screening at this year's edition of CinemaCon. An advance look at the entirety of Top Gun Maverick. We saw, I think a good, what was it? 15, 20 minutes of the movie at last year's event. We're seeing the whole thing here today. I know a lot of exhibitors are looking forward to seeing that movie. That will be followed by a special lunch program in celebration of the film, moderated by The Hollywood Reporter. And we've got panelists from both Paramount, the film's producer, Jerry Bruckheimer, he'll be there, and so will Joseph Kosinski, the director of the film, alongside one of the actors, Glenn Powell. That'll be happening at lunchtime today. And here on Thursday, the day ends with the final studio presentation of the week. At 2:45 p.m., Lionsgate will be having their studio presentation, showing off their slate for this year. We're excited to really round off what's been a very busy and eventful week. And Shawn, Rebecca, I'm just thrilled that we're all still here in one piece.
Well, I'm barely here. I think I'm kind of at the point where I'm Michael J. Fox at the end of Back to the Future. That's how my brain feels right now. I don't know about you guys.
That's a good 80s callback.
Yeah.
If only we were all as cool as Michael J. Fox in Back to the Future.
I like the Biff character in that one. Biff, I think he was misunderstood. I think he got a raw deal in that movie series. Also, the third one sucked. I do have to say.
Hey now. No.
You guys are
Mary Steenburgen.
You guys are Back to the Future 3 fans.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's my second favorite. It's my last crusade.
What
what's
am I
your least
doing
favorite?
here?
2.
No, 2 is the best one.
I like them all, but if I had to rank.
No,
The
there's a fine...
the third is kishy and campy in a way that is admirable, I think.
All right, fair enough. And we have here listening in Romeo Duchesne from Box Office Pro France. You might recognize him if you're in the French market. He is a regular contributor for us in L'Émission, which is live every Thursday over on YouTube. Romeo, hi, how are you?
Hi everyone, nice to meet you. And I have to say sorry for my English, I'll do my best.
Let's actually dive right into the conversation on everything that went over today at CinemaCon. The day starts off with a panel from the Cinema Foundation on HR, on hiring, on staff retention. We're not going to go into that because we are going to have highlights from that panel in tomorrow's episode. Let's talk about what we saw on the big screen at the Coliseum today. Shawn, the morning started with Disney presenting their footage. The day, actually, I think the best place to start here is a personal appearance from Kevin Feige. That was surprising. I didn't expect that. What happened there? He came in with, it sounded like an unscripted introduction.
Right. He was essentially the first guy out of the gate. I think Disney wanted to put the face that everybody knows and loves out there for their return to CinemaCon. He came out and said, essentially, I love movies. I love you all and I thank you all. And you could tell, like, it's not one of those quotes that was pre-planned, and if it was, he still meant it.
We actually got to see 20 minutes of Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, or is it and the Multiverse of Madness?
In the Multiverse.
The Multiverse of Madness.
And is out, in is in.
In is in. All right, so that's good. It's going to help my copy moving forward. So that happened. Actually, Tony Chambers from the distribution side over at Disney, citing some pre-sale figures to date. Shawn, after Tony Chambers' comments on those pre-sale numbers, where are you with the forecasting on this film that's opening in the first weekend of May?
Still pretty confident. He cited 42 million in domestic pre-sales already. Based on what we've seen in the past with certain movies, I think that lines up with where forecasts are right now. We'll find out, I think, a little more clearly next week, but this is looking like it's going to be one of the all-time higher openers. At least maybe it gets to 200 million, maybe not. We'll talk probably more about that next week.
So were we talking about it in comparison to No Way Home?
Well, that's a little bit out of reach, I think. But yeah, it's everything. I mean, that's essentially, think of it as like every Star Wars movie outside of The Force Awakens. I think No Way Home is The Force Awakens of Marvel.
This is Star Wars numbers. A guy named Doctor Strange is getting Star Wars numbers. That's fantastic.
I will say, me personally, I was, you know me, I'm a horror nerd. The Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness is directed by Sam Raimi, who, as far as horror nerds are concerned, is a god. That said, I mean, I was kind of like, I'm going to see Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, but I wasn't excited about it. After seeing the footage,
you're excited.
I'm excited.
Talking about footage, we also saw on the non-Marvel studio side 30 minutes from Lightyear. We don't want to go too much into that range. I think there might be some light spoilers, so we are not going to discuss those 30 minutes of Lightyear footage. But Rebecca, generally, what was your reaction to the footage?
When that first trailer came out, I thought, oh my goodness, this is gorgeous. Where are the jokes?
There were no jokes.
Movie. There are jokes in the film.
Good.
That's not a spoiler. We can confirm that there are jokes in the film.
It was a real concern. That was a really, like, serious, like, somber, like, Batman-style Buzz Lightyear trailer.
And the film still appears to be very, space adventure-driven, but it felt more Pixar than the trailer did.
It will be great to see Pixar back on the big screen where it belongs. We also saw footage from, well, maybe this isn't going to be let's call it a big tentpole, but it's a big name attached here. David O. Russell with Amsterdam, coming out on November 4th. I mean, it's going to play in premium large format screens. A David O. Russell movie. And PLF auditoriums. They said that in the presentation. That's wild.
It's his historical epic starring John David Washington, Margot Robbie, Christian Bale. I mean, those names enough are enough to get me kind of interested and curious about the movie. It seems drama, historical, World War II spy.
I get a little bit of a comedy angle too.
Yeah, I don't know what it's about.
From the trailer what it was about.
But it looked charming. There's stars.
I like those people.
Right? Think of it in this way. Remember American Hustle?
Yes.
It was a charming movie. There's stars there. I still don't know what it's about. I saw that movie like
even Silver
5 years ago.
Playbook, very serious movie when you think about it, but
what's it about? Yeah, like it doesn't matter. It's a great time. That's the thing about David O. Russell. He's a filmmaker that you just have a good time watching his movies. I think that has a bigger box office potential than many other David O. Russell films.
I mean, and the big reveal, the big news was Avatar 2, but we do have one more film before we get to Avatar 2, for which we now have a title, that being the Bob's Burgers movie, an adaptation of I think it's fair to say, kind of like a cult animated Fox cartoon. People are very passionate about it.
It's a movie that we're not really looking forward to as fans, but we saw the first 5 minutes of it. As people that don't know what a Bob's Burgers is, would you see this movie after the first 5 minutes?
I probably would. It's very charming. I think that's going to be a word we use a lot for some of these movies, but yeah.
And it's echoing what we said on yesterday's podcast with regard to actually several titles, apparently. The Bob's Burgers movie is a musical?
Yeah, I didn't know. There's songs?
Yeah.
And it was like a good song, too. It was
catchy.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Fun.
I mean, the first callback I think of is the Simpsons movie, but that was such a huge brand when it came out. I think Bob's Burgers is not quite maybe at that echelon, but still maybe this is a good counter-programmer out there for younger audiences, maybe teens.
Yes, and it's a counter-programmer for Memorial Day. Right. When we know Top Gun Maverick is going to open, that's a risky move, though. Putting a movie in wide release going up against Top Gun Maverick, we're going to see how this plays out, and you can find that out, not in this episode, but if you go over to boxofficepro.com, Shawn's weekend forecast and long-range forecast columns on Wednesdays and Fridays respectively, you'll be getting all our updates on how we're tracking the industry. But let's move forward, guys, because the big headline here of today of CinemaCon, Avatar 2 exists.
Wait, now,
it's a real thing.
It has a subtitle. It's not.
It's
Avatar
a subtitle.
2.
It's a real movie now.
Avatar: The Way of Water.
I am going to pass judgment on the footage we saw. It looked awesome. It looked great. What was your reaction? This was in 3D, by the way. I hadn't opened a pair of 3D glasses, I think, in like 4 years.
Same here. I think the last thing I saw in 3D was Infinity War, maybe, and it was only because I had to be honest. It was a lack of options for the day I was seeing it. You know what? If James Cameron says this is how he wants to be seen, I'm going to do it. That's what I've really come to feel over the years. I've doubted him in the past, and I feel like this teaser is exactly that. It didn't show a lot, but it showed just enough to prove that it exists.
Obviously, in the North American market, 3D has dropped off. I mean, Avatar came out and everyone was like, oh, we're going to post-convert everything to 3D. Turns out, when you do that and you don't do it right, it looks bad.
Yeah, I think it's a challenge, right? And we saw that in the early days of 3D, so I think Avatar set a standard. A lot of studios got the 3D standard wrong. So I actually looked up the numbers from the Motion Picture Association's theme report. And in 2016, 3D movies brought in $8.8 billion in global box office. That was at 22% of the market share of that year. Now, it's unfair to compare pre-pandemic box office numbers with 2020 or 2021. So we're not going to do that. But I did look at the 2019 figures. 2019 3D global box office brought in $6.5 billion, a 15% market share of the global box office. We have to look at that market share. It's dropping globally. It's waning.
Given that, Daniel, I mean, the footage we saw of Avatar with Dolby 3D, it was gorgeous. When I saw the original Avatar, I didn't see it on IMAX. I didn't see it in 3D. I saw it in 2D normal. And that was another announcement that Disney is going to be re-releasing the original Avatar. So I am excited I'll finally get to see the original Avatar.
When's that coming out, Shawn? That re-release of the original?
September 23rd. So perfect timing when there's kind of an open spot on the calendar right after summer, going into fall, which we've talked about recently needing more content. So
we're seeing the re-release of that. And then in December, we're going to see the sequel. And this one's going to have 3D, high dynamic range, high frame rate. It's going to, I mean, if it's judged by what we saw in this presentation, it's going to look amazing if projected in the way that James Cameron envisions it.
Ooh, that's a big caveat. In 2022, when there is a global supply chain disruption and technology shortages, are the projectors and the cinema equipment needed to project this at the standard that producer John Landau and director James Cameron expect? Even if you have the cash, can you get a projector in time for opening day? It's a real question we have to ask here.
I'm not going to see Avatar: Way of Water in anything other than the best possible way. I'm not going to do it.
I think a lot of moviegoers would agree with you. So it's something we have to ask. Is the global supply chain disruption going to impact this film's release or reception?
I mean, they're putting this trailer exclusively in front of Doctor Strange next week. You won't be able to see it online until the week after.
I enjoyed the Avatar 2 footage. I enjoyed the Doctor Strange footage. Them saying that the Avatar 2 trailer was going to be exclusively in theaters for a week was my favorite part of the Disney presentation.
Now we're getting to the point of theatrical exclusivity, where trailers are getting theatrical exclusivity.
Do we all remember when the Phantom Menace trailer had theatrical exclusivity, and it was a huge deal?
People would buy tickets just to see the trailer. I like the marketing strategy here. You have theatrical exclusivity on a trailer to reinforce the technology aspect, the movie-going component. So September 23 re-release, we'll see how that goes. And then December release that I think is going to be highly anticipated. The other thing we do have to talk about here that may impact your projections, Shawn, down the line, when we talk about 3D, it was such a big part of the first Avatar movie. I don't know how much of a part 3D is going to play in Avatar: The Way of Water.
Right.
But what I can say is the number of 3D screens in the United States has actually dropped by 14% since 2018. So in 2018, according to the Motion Picture Association, there were 15,511 digital 3D screens in the United States. In 2021, that number's down to 13,292.
That is a big drop.
14% in 3 years. So right now, as we're seeing the evolution of movie-going, where we're probably overscreened in the US, and exhibitors are recognizing that, and some of those auditoriums are being turned into kitchen spaces to add a dine-in element, and you're turning a 12-plex into an 8-plex in a lot of locations. Yeah, I think 3D has been a casualty of that. That's why I'm not sure how much you're going to be playing up the 3D aspect of this movie. So a lot of important questions. If you're still listening, thank you for geeking out as we talk about technology formats at the movies.
And we're about to head into the Universal program.
Yeah,
which
there will
had
be less boring TikTok there.
A lot of films announced in this one. So
this will be a little bit easier for our more consumer-oriented listeners. So thank you for sticking with us. Shawn, there's so many titles in this Universal presentation. Yeah. We're not going to talk about all the movies, but let's talk about the ones that really stood out. The presentation starts with remarks from Donna Langley, followed by Jim Orr, who said something interesting. Over 25 movies this year from Universal. That's 10 more theatrical releases than any other major studio. These guys are putting films in theaters. What stood out for you from this presentation, Shawn, on the films that are coming up on the schedule?
A lot. Like you said, we can't get to them all, but the opener was, I think, a lot of people's most anticipated movie this summer, Jordan Peele's Nope.
That's mine. I just want to ask you, what did we see that was not in the original trailer?
We saw a few things to the point where I looked down because I didn't want to see any more, but the comfort that I was given by just even being in the room was the fact that Jordan Peele came out and introed this movie and spoke about how important the mystery is to him, sounding very much in the vein
I'm not watching
of
any more trailers
your
for
Nolans
this.
and your J.J. Abrams. Like, they respect the mystery for the audience. So with the new stuff that was shown, you still don't have much of a clue.
We don't know what's going on. I was here for this trailer, but something that was interesting here in the Universal presentation, and Rebecca, we were here for this last year when they did a remote version of this. They brought on stage, next to the stars, every time a filmmaker or a film star came up in this presentation, they had a local theater worker, a local movie theater worker there
that was
with
close
them.
Or associated to them in some way.
Yeah, on stage. It was great. We got to see a lot of theater
It was really lovely
workers
last
there.
year. I'm curious, as as I said earlier, a big horror fan. The Halloween remake trilogy, the second of those, Halloween Kills, went day and date on in theaters and on Peacock. Kind of mixed reception. I myself was mixed on the film. We have some information on the third film in that trilogy, Halloween Ends. What did we see, and did they confirm that it's only theatrical?
We saw a few new parts. They did not confirm or say anything, to my recollection, about it being exclusive to theaters.
That's a toss-up, right? I don't know how that's going to play out.
We have a Universal horror movie doing day and date, Firestarter, within the next...
Yeah, and they didn't show anything.
Nothing of.
Nothing. They didn't even mention it. That's a good point, Rebecca. So that'll be a
test case.
Well, I think that's a really good point you bring up, because Firestarter is on that slate. It's day and date on Peacock,
it's a similar
the streaming service.
Genre, aiming for similar people.
And we didn't see anything of that title, and they actually went big with what we saw from Halloween and some footage.
They had 25 plus movies. You want 30 plus movies?
Yeah, we're not going to go through all of them. It's exhausting.
Concerns.
Yeah, there's a lot here. So let's actually move on to the next one, because this one, and you guys know of this about me, I tell you guys all the time, I have like a basic credo when it comes to watching a movie. It's not a waste of time if it has a ghost or a robot in it. I might not like it, it might not be good, but it's not a waste of time, because at least you got to see a ghost, or at least you got to see a robot, and I don't see either of those things every day.
So we're talking about the Blumhouse film Megan, and I feel like, you two tell me, you've been to more CinemaCons than I have. Every year there's kind of one poster that sticks out at you, and you're like, what is this? For me, this year, it was this poster for Megan.
It's a robot, and it's an evil robot.
Right.
So Shawn,
awesome.
what the poster is very ambiguous. All it is an evil, like, adolescent robot sitting on a bed.
I wasn't even sure what it was until the trailer. To me, I mean, this is super creepy. Honestly, if I had to think of a comparison, it looks like Child's Play for Gen Z. And
that's a good pull quote. They're going to put you on the poster, dude. Watch out.
You're going to be on the Blu-ray.
Yeah, watch out.
First time for everything. But that it looked amazing. I think Juan has more than proven his capabilities in this genre, and the fact that it's opening in January, this kind of original horror movie in that time of year that can kind of slow down, that could really provide a good start to next year.
The next one we have here on the list, I mean, Easter Sunday. I'm going to admit I've never heard of this.
Yeah, I hadn't heard of this either. Shawn, did you know about this movie, Easter Sunday? Okay, so this was interesting.
So we're just bad at our jobs.
Yeah, we're not good. I mean, that's why Shawn is leading the analysis of what's coming up. So you've been tracking this, you've been following this. This was very interesting. It was one of the highlights, I felt, of the presentation. What's your take on Easter Sunday?
Yeah, I think it started out Joe Coy, the star of the film and a very popular comedian, essentially came out and did a stand-up routine for about 10 minutes. And really arguably one of the best parts of the CinemaCon so far. I would rank it up there with Dwayne Johnson's star presence of the stage. Even though not everybody knows Joe Coy, this reminded me
of... You know him now after you went to CinemaCon.
I think maybe after this movie. And the trailer really... It looks like a cute kind of family movie with some adult appeal.
This is a movie that I think I would watch on a date night or with my mom or honestly alone on a Tuesday.
I mean, it's interesting to me then that, I mean, Universal's pushing it. They must, Shawn, I mean, does it seem like they have great confidence in the film?
I think they do. And it's another one of those movies that's timed outside of what we used to view as your traditional movie-going windows. And I really think this is the kind of content that lives up to that billing of original, not reliant on IP, just something fresh for moviegoers.
I mean, it's on my radar now, and I couldn't even make it to the Universal presentation, so there you go.
Yeah, we'll be looking forward to that release when Easter Sunday comes out. We had a couple more titles here on the Universal side on the slate. Minions coming out in the marketplace. Not too much to go into here, Shawn.
I mean, it's Minions. It's going to make a
come on, it's a guarantee. Yeah. Let's give this spotlight here on the podcast to some other movies. It's going to do well, exhibitors. Don't worry, you're going to pack screens with it.
But I absolutely think this will be one of the big hits of the summer because it's after Lightyear. It's a big animated franchise movie, and kids haven't had that for 3 years.
So we'll be looking forward to that release. I think in many, many countries, territories, these Minions movies are just a guaranteed hit, basically.
The universal language.
Oh, yeah, I mean, across like countless countries. Interesting trailer here, Shawn. Bros. This was actually a highlight for me. Yep. Could you go over the entirety of what this concept brings from Universal?
So this is another, and I say another, even though it's actually a first of its kind film, but it's another film from the guys who made Neighbors, Nicholas Stoller is his name, the director. Billy Eichner is the star. This is essentially a rom-com for the LGBTQ plus community. First of its kind.
Or for straight people who just like good rom-coms.
That too. And that was a big part of Billy Eichner's selling. Like, he was another one of the entertaining aspects of selling this movie. Is like, it is this for our community, but it's for everybody at the same time.
So we're excited to see that movie coming out later this year, Bros, from writer-director Billy Eichner. But let's move on forward to, I think, the main course here from the Universal presentation. There's dinosaurs. The dinosaurs actually show up in Jurassic World Dominion. What did we see there, Shawn? Because this one's coming out this summer.
We saw I think it was basically an extended version of the recent trailer that came out. You know what? We might as well just call this movie Jurassic World: The Force Awakens or Jurassic World: No Way Home. Because it's a multi-generational Jurassic movie. And
Sam Neill in the original Jurassic Park was a big deal for pre-adolescent me.
Yeah. Well, there you go.
Well, here, I'm curious on this, because the first two Jurassic World, I mean, they were critically mixed, right? I mean,
they made money.
But they made a ton of money.
Romeo, were you at Universal
here?
when this came out? I mean, so Romeo Duchesne here from Box Office Trends. You worked the distribution angle both at Sony and Universal in France. What was the reception of these Jurassic World movies in Europe?
Oh, huge. And personally, I think I joined Universal just to release that movie.
Really?
I grew up with Jurassic Park. I had dinosaurs on my blanket. I just joined Universal for that. and I remember they released the first one in 3D, I think.
I saw that. That was good.
The 20th anniversary.
Yeah, and I was excited at the time just for the first one to see in theater, because I was born in 1992. So the first one I've seen on VHS. While my mother was...
I feel old.
Yeah, we all, like you're not here to our listeners, like our faces just dropped when Romeo openly admitted he was born in 1992. With this nostalgia that we have for Jurassic World, for the original, that's what this movie does, Shawn. It gets that nostalgia of the original Jurassic Park that all of us, including children born in 1992, have for this franchise, and it brings it in to the current generation of movies.
One of the ones I'm curious about, and I am not the target audience for this film at all, and I'm not really interested in it as a film. But the second Puss in Boots movie, I feel like this has been in the works for like 10 years. And it seems like one that's been heavily promoted here. Like, there are posters all over the place for it. Yeah. And like, it's a freaking Shrek spinoff. Shrek used to be a powerhouse, right?
It's coming back,
it's coming back.
Do I want to see the film? I don't know, because I wasn't at the Universal presentation.
I think this is the practice for Shrek 5. I already see the marketing poster. It's a giant S, but it's a 5, and it has Shrek's horns. I guarantee it's coming within the next year.
Does it seem like it's going to be good, or it's going to make money? A lot, like
the Puss in Boots.
I think so. It'll be, it's at Christmas now. It won't be Shrek money, but the first one did surprisingly well 11 years ago, granted.
Well, that's it for the Universal presentation, and all those movies are coming to screens in the coming weeks and months. But that wasn't the end of Universal's presentation, because their specialty arm, Focus Features, was back in the presentation. Friend of exhibition Lisa Bonnell from Focus coming on stage, introducing footage of a number of titles. We don't have time to go over all of them. I can tell you my one favorite Focus title that we saw a preview of. It was Violent Night, from the production team behind the John Wick movies. Violent Night is an action thriller comedy in that vein of Nobody, but it stars a dude playing Santa Claus.
David Harbour.
Who?
I'm sorry, David Harbour.
David
I called you a dude.
Come on, man.
I don't. Who's
Stranger Things.
That's why I don't know what's. Come on.
David Harbour, badass Santa Claus.
Yes.
Yeah.
I can see it.
It looks amazing.
I see it.
He kicks butt.
Yeah.
I see it.
He does karate. It's Karate Santa Claus. There you go. I gave you a better title. Karate Santa Claus.
Ticket sold.
That's basically the big highlight I had from the Focus Features presentation. But another title that actually came out in France tonight as we're recording this is the main course, I think, for this Focus Features target audience.
I got to ask Romeo about this, because I don't want to say I'm a big fan of Downton Abbey, because I watched the first few seasons and there's only so far that beautiful costumes can take me. But I was really pleasantly surprised by the first movie. It was light, there wasn't much to it, but darn it, I had a good time. We have the sequel coming out. I mean, the original movie was very much, I mean, the kind of thing we've been speaking about. It's a mid-range title. It brought out adult audiences.
Overperformed theatrically, I think it's fair to say, yeah.
The second one, I mean, how did it do opening weekend?
Well, the second one, not opening day.
Opening day in France. Is it open on Wednesday today, right? As we record this.
We like to do different stuff, opening on Wednesday, and we don't count into millions of dollars. We count
you count in admissions. Admissions.
I'll try to speak your language, but I have to talk about admission.
So give us some context here, Romeo, because we are looking at international figures to inform our analysis domestically of how this movie is going to play out in a demographic that has been very slow to return. How did Downton Abbey 2 open in France compared to the original?
Well, pretty good. I mean, yesterday they made like 30,000 admission. The first one with preview, and the first one made like 35,000 admission.
So from 35,000 in the first one to 30,000 in the sequel, that's not a big swing. That's not bad.
Considering, I mean, the show has been off the air for that many more years.
Yeah, and the audience has been away from the screen for that many more years. Yeah.
By that same thought, though, it's also a show, I'm biased here because I fall into this group, who binged it during the pandemic. I think it's one of those shows that had been off for a while, and then all of a sudden it's maybe found a second life.
And I think 30,000 admission is quite good. Exit poll are quite equal as the first one, and the first one made around $6 million in France, and it was, don't get me wrong, it might sound small for you guys from North America domestic market, but it was the third market internationally, and the first one obviously is the UK. They made $36 million, which was almost 40% of all the international box office. So that was huge in the UK. And I don't know what Shawn forecast is for the second one, but it might be around $40 million. The first one made like almost 100, right?
Just shy of 100. Yeah, it opened to a little over 30 million, and it actually had legs, which was kind of unexpected for a television adaptation with a fan base.
I was one of those who didn't see it until later because of word of mouth. Romeo, you say the exit poll between 1 and 2 was similar, so it might be a similar situation of just people catching up with it.
It's very possible. I think the big question, obviously stateside, is where's that audience returning, or in terms of returning, and past TV adaptation sequels kind of see a drop off, but this is not necessarily your run-of-the-mill sequel, and as we're seeing from the early results, there could be less erosion of that original audience than maybe once expected.
So Shawn, this comes out pretty soon, right?
Right, 2 weeks after Doctor Strange. I believe that would be May the 20th, and 1 week before Top Gun, although there's probably I think those two films will coexist. Top Gun's older guys, maybe some younger guys. Downton Abbey going for a predominantly female audience.
I'm a 37-year-old woman, and I'm going to see both. So.
Yeah.
Well, we'll be looking forward to these movies. Romeo, Shawn, Rebecca, thank you so much for joining us for this spirited discussion about movies. Always fun to be here at CinemaCon and react to these movies. Coming up next in our feature interview segment, we've got highlights from the Tuesday morning 7:45 a.m. panel. For all you people that partied really hard Monday night at CinemaCon, this is your lucky opportunity to catch up on that 7:45 a.m. panel. It's called The Show Starts on the Street, Marketing the Theatrical Experience to Your Audience. It was moderated by Sarah Whitten of CNBC and features insights from panelists Alicia Cook, the Director of Advertising at AMC Theatres, Rich Daughtridge, President and CEO at Warehouse Cinemas, Ben Deighton, the General Manager of Marketing over at Australia and New Zealand for Reading Cinemas, and Annelise Holyoak, the Senior National Director of Marketing and Loyalty for Cinépolis. So yeah, that's coming up shortly, and thanks again for tuning in to this news segment here at the Box Office Podcast. So let's go right into the feature interview part of this episode. We've got highlights from that Tuesday morning panel at CinemaCon going over marketing and how exhibitors are engaging with today's audiences coming out of the pandemic. Sarah Whitten from CNBC, she is the moderator in this session, and Annelise Holyoak from Cinépolis USA, she starts off the conversation talking about how her circuit has tackled some special engagements, some special programs to try to eventize that movie-going experience for folks looking for a slightly different way of enjoying their time at the movies. Here's Annelise kicking off the conversation from Tuesday's panel.
One of the things we noticed is that naturally over the years, people were coming to the theater on Sundays and kind of practicing their own self-care. And I was traveling a lot at the time, and I was seeing a lot of people doing face masks on airplanes and all of these things. And so I thought, how could we bring this to the cinema? And it evolved a lot with the help of a lot of different people on our team. And we came up with the idea of a self-care Sunday screening specifically on Sunday nights when it's a slow period. So we knew that if we were going to increase traffic, we'd actually see it pretty immediately, because about 5 o'clock, I'm sure for all of you it's the same, traffic does start to die down. So we're giving everyone gold eye patches and a small popcorn, and we have a mindfulness breathing exercise before the movie to get you in the movie-going zone. And it's all launching in May for Mental Health Awareness Month. But to Alicia's point, we just wanted to get people excited about going back to the movies. I think for so many people, the movies were their happy place, and then with the pandemic, it got a little scary for some people. We wanted to remind people that, like, it's so much better watching it on the big screen. It's totally different from watching it at home when, I don't know about you guys, but we can't even get through an HGTV episode without pausing it 5 times. So it's nice to see people excited about getting back to the theater.
Yeah, and what I love about the promotion is it isn't just like, hey, we're going to watch a romantic movie or, you know, a comedy. You can watch any movie you want.
Exactly.
A horror movie, an action movie, whatever it is that is your self-care routine. If you like a good scare, you can have a good scare and have your gold eye masks on.
Yes. So yeah, we play up on the Sunday scaries, but only with the scary movies.
Oh. Now, for anyone on the panel, what other strategies have you guys been employing in theater? Are you offering unique content? You know, what are you doing to draw in audiences that haven't been coming back?
We at AMC have an amazing team dedicated to alternative and inclusive content. So, and that might look different depending on the community that we're in. It's about, you know, since we are a larger chain, we have people who understand the individual communities that our theaters still serve, because for the guests, it is their local AMC, it is their local theater. So everything from our artisan films to anime, Indian cinema, and recently we've been rolling out our open captioning as well to continue to make moviegoing a more inclusive experience.
Yeah, I'll sort of jump off that self-care concept, because I think as marketers, we tend to say, this movie is playing, this movie is playing. I think from an engagement perspective, let's talk a little bit more about why going to the movies is a good thing for you and the experience of hanging out with people that you care about. So I think the messaging that we're trying to do to create that engagement is more about the why moviegoing makes sense versus just the what movie is playing. And we've really gotten a lot of benefit out of that.
Fantastic. Now, I want to kind of talk to you smaller footprints over there, the ones that don't have the $25 million budget for marketing. What are the things that you're able to do? Like, what are your superpowers as a smaller footprint that some of maybe the bigger chains aren't able to do?
Yeah, as I said before about our social footprint, so we're very localised. So the way we set up our company, Australia New Zealand, that the local manager, for all intents and purposes, is the owner of the business. So if you go to some of these 40, 50,000 population towns, we want the people there to think that the person they see at the building is the owner. So we operate as a reasonably large circuit in Australia and New Zealand, but on a very local basis. So we can trial things, we can get the managers out into the local communities, talk to the customers, talk to the little old lady. If she wants to do something, let's have a go at it. If it doesn't work, we scrap it, but if it does, maybe we'll roll it out a bit wider. So a good example of that, which is the most random thing I think we've ever done, we've just started knitting sessions in our upmarket cinema in Tasmania, and there's like knitting clubs that come in and watch a movie and knit during the movie. I don't know. It's working.
Honestly,
so far.
like, sign me up for that. If there's like a needle point and
again, come to our cinemas and you can.
All right, I'm going to Australia now.
I think our superpower as a small exhibitor with 2 locations, one on the way, is eventizing cinema. We're more nimble than the large organizations. And I think our superpower is sort of eventizing, but also creating those experiences around going to the movies. So we do crazy stuff. So we do like a margarita in a movie, and we'll lean into a film and just a bunch of women come and drink margaritas mostly. We'll also do daddy-daughter date night for a kids film, and it's such a special moment for the fathers and the daughters to take a selfie on the red carpet. But we're nimble like that, so we can actually then lean into our social media and email to get people out. And we have a bunch of stories about how we overperform on those films based on eventizing.
That's fantastic. Also sign me up for margaritas. I'll be coming. Rich, I want to keep going with you. A few weeks ago when we were talking, you told me about a specific location you have in Maryland that I would like to visit. It's in a cornfield. Can you talk about the importance of cinemas as destinations?
Yes, our neighbors are soybean and corn, and we're about 5 miles north of an already tertiary market, Hagerstown, Maryland. So it's an old 10 screen that we renovated. But I think marketing can allow for a destination cinema like Warehouse Cinemas. When we say, where is Warehouse Cinemas in Hagerstown, we say, if you think you're lost, just keep driving a little further. You'll show up and it'll be nice when you get there. It's all luxury recliners. I think when you have a good product, the product side of marketing, so in our case, we do 100% leather recliners. We have a food and beverage component. We do that eventising we talked about. I think when your product is good and then you lean into the experiences associated with getting out of the house, the movie is certainly part of it. It's the main attraction. But marketing those experiences, layering those in as many as you can with not having too many logistics associated with it. People are willing to drive. People are willing, in our case, to drive to the middle of the cornfield. Parking's easy, I'll say that, because there's nothing else around. People appreciate that, but we've had great experience in that location that most people wrote off.
And that last quote came from Rich Daughtridge, the CEO of Warehouse Cinemas. Moving further along in the conversation, Sarah Whitten was engaging the panelists on their food and beverage strategies as moviegoers are looking for something slightly different than what they can enjoy at home. We have Annelise Holyoak from Cinépolis USA once again leading the charge in this topic.
We started in 2011 in the US as a dine-in concept, and obviously that's not how we started in Mexico and in the other countries that we're in. And so food and beverage has always been a huge focus for us. The pandemic, I think, really let us, as you mentioned, reevaluate who we wanted to be and give us time to perfect the menu. We had a lot of things that were easy to make because we obviously have to serve hundreds of people every hour, unlike a regular restaurant. But we've really kind of reevaluated making more things in-house, trying to produce as many of our own sauces as we can, actually, having less fried items, things that we're actually making. And I think our guests are noticing the difference. I would say the biggest issue at this point is, just the workforce and trying to be able to, get our staff available to make all these wonderful items. But we've also switched over to the bottomless popcorn. We have candy in larger sizes now, which people really love. And I'm gluten-free, so I love, we have a lot of gluten-free options, which is cool, and vegan options. And I think also the biggest thing is really tapping those food and beverage industry experts to come on the team. We have someone new in operations starting that has a very extensive food and beverage background, and trying to hire people that have really worked in restaurants as GMs. Because we can definitely teach them the movie side, but teaching the food and beverage side is really tough, especially when you have that much traffic coming in every hour.
For sure. Ben, I'm going to move on to you.
Alcohol. Yeah, food and beverage is huge for us, obviously, in our market as well. Australia was the market that originally launched the dining concept via Village with the gold class offer, which obviously then came over here with iPick and a few others. So it's been a thing in Australia for the last 25, 30 years to expect to go to a cinema and get an elevated offer. Most of our locations in both countries now are either fully licensed or on the verge of being licensed. And we do a lot of movie-themed cocktails. We partner with the distributors. Hopefully they can fund some of that at times, which is always much easier for us. A lot of concession combos. Yeah, it's massive. We've just recently launched the option to purchase your food and beverage online whilst you're buying your ticket, which we've seen a huge uptake in. We're getting sort of 10-15% higher bucket size online versus at the concession counter because people are planning ahead. And I think that's probably the last 2 years, people's habits have changed. They want less contact with people, but they want to plan ahead. So if you're booking a sporting ticket, you want to know where you're going for dinner. You want to do it all in one go. So we're trying to capture that all in one hit. They show up, the queues are easier, we get more money. So it's win-win.
Win-win, yeah, for sure. Rich, what about you?
So we're a little different in that we are a fast casual model. We also took the opportunity over the pandemic to say, do we want to be a restaurant? And I've owned a restaurant before, and I'll won't do that again. The pain of a restaurant is tough. So we're a fast casual model, and so we lean into also the bar and the drinks. Movie themed, we have a drink called the Serial Killer, which is basically this like wine slushy, but like Fruity Pebbles on the rim, and we just have fun with that and market that through Instagram especially. We have a menu that we call Elevated Comfort Food. So basically it's gourmet grilled cheese. We have 3 of those. We have flatbread pizzas, and we have gourmet hot dogs. So I think our DNA at Warehouse Cinemas is a little bit food truck, brewery, winery, distillery. That's our jam. And so, for example, and we have fun with the names as well, we have a grilled cheese called the Miggity Mac. And so it's like this massive grilled cheese. I'm not trying to entice you guys to come and watch the movie with us, but basically the Miggity Mac is, I think the description is so flavorful it'll make you jump. So we sort of have fun. So everyone from the 80s just laughed in the audience. So we just have fun with the names and just that comfort food elevated, and it's fast casual, so our labor costs are lower and all those things. So that's our model.
No, I think Ben brought up a really good point about, online concession sales and online things. Obviously, with the pandemic, we've seen that technology sort of come a little bit faster than I think most people were expecting. Anybody else have any kind of thoughts about online ordering or mobile pay?
Yes.
How much time do we have?
I think just in general, any way for us that we can make not just food and beverage purchasing, but ticket purchasing, the entire experience more seamless for the customer. That's where we invest a lot of time and resources and energy. So we've rolled out mobile ordering for food and beverage just to take any of the stress out of going to a movie. It should, like Annelise said, it should just be a happy, stress-free time. You don't want to be worried about, finding your seat or standing in a concession line. So we're trying to remove any of those pain points from our customers. So definitely mobile ordering has been something that we've been investing in, as well as online ticketing.
We use the word friction. So I think when we're competing against the couch to come out for an evening, we have to figure out what makes that just a seamless, frictionless, as much as we can, lines, all those things. So I think when food ordering makes a ton of sense, obviously online ticketing, all those things, but can they just come to the cinema, walk in, grab their meal, and go right to their seat that's already reserved for them? I think that's our challenge as an industry, to make sure that we're competing with the couch in a lot of ways.
So I'm curious, I know obviously everyone's been making investments during the pandemic for different things. What is something that you feel exhibitors should consider investing in going forward?
Digital channels, I think, are the biggest one. I mean, as everyone's mentioned, making it as seamless as possible. We have a new website launching soon that's got the seat first booking, so that you don't have to go all the way through the process of finding out the showtime is sold out, because obviously that's annoying for people, and just making it easier for people to book tickets and order food ahead of time if that's what they want to do.
Yeah, I agree. And as I said, we launched our new website a couple of years ago as well, in the middle of pandemic, which is not fun, but it's also fun because no one was going there. Same thing, seat first booking, get people in, make it easier for them. You don't want people on your websites for 3 or 4 minutes at a time. They should be able to get in, get what they want, see what they want, buy what they want, spend as much money as they can, and get out, because that's what people expect. They don't want to be mucking around.
And loyalty too, I think, is a big one.
I'd say just beyond that, we talked about making it more seamless and frictionless. And when you're competing with the couch too, you also want it to be as immersive as possible. So another big investment for AMC is, of course, premium formats are really big for us. And we just announced a partnership with Cineonic for our Laser at AMC initiative, where we'll be rolling out thousands of laser projectors over the next couple of years. So it's just continuing to make investments that make it easier to purchase tickets, and then once you're there, make it a more immersive, exciting experience, so that people remember that there's a good reason to get off your couch and to come to the movies.
Absolutely. Now, how have you sort of been telling customers about these upgrades? Are you going to social with them? Are you going, email? What is sort of your method for telling people, hey, we're upgrading this, it's a better experience, come back?
Yeah, I mean, we definitely take a multi-channel approach, primarily digital, social media, digital advertising, and as Rich mentioned, our email is a big one for us, communicating to our AMC Stubs loyalty members. So we kind of take an omni-channel approach to anything that we're doing, and just work as a team in the marketing department to determine, what's the priority message, so that we're kind of streamlining what we're communicating to guests, not bombarding them with different things from every angle, but having more of a streamlined voice of how we want to talk to the guests.
Absolutely. I know, Rich, you've talked about how important data is and sort of figuring out what your customer wants, what they don't want, and targeting for the things, maybe, hey, you'll be interested in this. Can you talk a little bit about the strategy you guys have had?
Yeah, I think you recognize post-pandemic and maybe before then that the studios do a great job of sort of flyover marketing and general awareness of the film. And obviously Marvel, the brands have their own sort of momentum. So we're really working on sort of predicting the next movie that someone wants to watch. I mean, we get this from Amazon, we get this from Netflix, the next movie. And we're a really small player, so we don't have a huge budget to work with, but how can we do a better job leveraging the data we have in our POS to predict the next movie that Ben wants to see and then target them one-to-one as opposed to sort of mass email. And I think as marketers, as an industry, we need to figure that out because I think there's a lot of money left on the table in week 2. If that consumer, if we can filter out the consumers that haven't come, that came to another Marvel film for whatever reason they didn't come in week 2, let's send them an email, let's follow them on social, let's do some other things that basically create that awareness and then the call to action quickly and easily to basically order their ticket online and maybe food as well.
We do a lot of that at Cinépolis as well. We do a lot of second week targeting, and one of the things that we have great engagement from is only sending emails that are personalized for the most part. Occasionally we do send mass emails to everyone, but for the most part, if you've never seen a Marvel movie, we're not gonna let you know Marvel tickets are on sale. But if you haven't seen it in the first week and you have seen a Marvel movie, we're definitely going to send you a second week offer. At least for us, a lot of our members are also members of AMC and other things, so we have to work a little extra harder to get them to come see a premium format and spend the extra dollars at our buildings.
For sure. One of the things I definitely want to talk about is loyalty programs. How important is it to have a loyalty program? Or can you find a way of marketing the experience and that will bring people back? What is sort of that strategy for each of you?
It's definitely a critical part of our business. Our AMC Stubs members are some of our best customers. And with a large footprint like we have, it's the best way that we can know our customers. And just echoing what Rich said, the data is so important. And I think it helps us to work smarter and harder. But it's like any good loyalty program, it's a two-way street. So we get information from them, what movies are they interested in? What do they buy when they're at the theater? How frequently are they coming? And in turn, we can better target our communication to them. We can better offer them promotions that they'll find appealing. And so they're our best customers. We want to earn their trust, keep their trust, and so we try not to over-communicate to them. We try to give them information that really they'll be interested in and that they'll find compelling to come back to a theater. But for us, it's absolutely important, and one of our biggest initiatives right now is just getting those members back to the theater, getting them re-engaged and back in the movie-going habit, because as for all of us, that's still just one of the challenges, is getting people back and in that movie-going habit.
Yeah, I'd echo what Alicia said. Loyalty for us is a big thing. We've had a program for sort of 15 years or so, roughly. They're our most loyal customers. You can always see they're the first ones to buy, but they're also our most vocal. So they're the first ones to give us feedback, which we encourage. There's no point us doing all this marketing, having them have a terrible experience, but not knowing. So that's probably the main benefit we get from it, not just the spend and the loyalty, but the ability to fix things very quickly. If you can see a pattern of a lot of loyal members letting you know that something's gone horribly wrong. So we use it for that too.
So I have a little bit different take on loyalty. So as a small exhibitor, I think loyalty, to the extent that you can personalize and predict the consumer behavior for them to buy a ticket, it's great. But I think sometimes we default to just loyalty for loyalty's sake, and we default to points. And for us, at least, again, we're trying to personalize this experience. We're the scrappy startup, circuit. How can we earn their loyalty with a great experience, a great customer service element, and then they come back again because of that, or maybe even surprise and delight them with an additional experience, not necessarily more points. Because again, this is a little bit of a theoretical answer, but that's what we're thinking about, because I think loyalty's been around for a while now and we needed that data, but I think there's a way to get not only loyalty data, but also transactional data, with the caveat that California has their own laws on that. But the ability for us to sort of supplement our data with additional data from loyalty and then lean into that, I think makes sense to just say loyalty for loyalty's sake and points.
And those were insights on the F&B business and everything related to some of those innovations going on. And to cap off our highlights from that panel session on Tuesday morning, we've got some insights from the panelists on the pandemic strategies that maybe are probably going to stay in the pandemic. Things that happen that might return, that might not. This is Rich Daughtridge kicking off the conversation on strategies they implemented during the COVID-19 crisis that might or might not stick around in the future.
We were surprised how many people love retro movies. Like, we had to do that for late 2020 for months, and it was like, we're playing Jurassic Park again. Anyone want to come? So what we learned from that was you can eventize even retro films. So we have a thing called Film League that sort of we double down on, where it's just once a month, but we sell out 300, 400 people on those nights with our marketing and our strategy around, and we let the consumer let us know what they're thinking about watching, what they would like to see on the big screen, and we give them back. So I think retro films, when sprinkled in effectively, I think make sense and sell more movie tickets.
Yeah, and I think we're always just trying to learn. So sometimes the retro films do work, and sometimes you think you'll have a great success, and then nobody shows up. So I think just in general, trying to keep track of what does work, what didn't work, and then just build from there. There's a lot that doesn't work, and there's a lot that does work. So
some things like the theater buyouts for $99, $100, I think those worked a little too well, because people are, asking for those things now, and we have to kind of explain to them, like, oh, we have actual movies now, so we can't give you a theater on a Saturday night for $99. Sorry.
And that'll do it for today's episode of the Box Office Podcast, here in our daily CinemaCon edition presented by ICE Theatres. Thanks again to our guests from that marketing panel that happened on Tuesday morning. We're proud to bring you those insights. And don't forget, we are coming with another review, another highlight session of early morning CinemaCon panel that actually happened on Wednesday. That Wednesday 7:45 a.m. panel on hiring, on staffing, on retention, moderated by NATO's Jackie Bredeman with representatives from both exhibition and distribution. We've got that coming to you here on Friday. Don't forget, tomorrow, the last episode of our weekly podcast series. And, well, to sign off here, thank you again to my co-hosts, Rebecca Pahle and Shawn Robbins, for their analysis and insights. The Box Office Podcast is produced by Box Office Pro, the box office company, and Record Edit Podcast. Don't forget to subscribe. We are doing this daily this week here from CinemaCon. But if you like what we're doing, we're on every week on Thursdays, so feel free to hit that subscribe button. It will really help us out. On behalf of all of us, thank you again, and we will talk once again tomorrow.